Hello, and welcome to another episode of Expert Talks. Today, I am joined by Mike Mathews, a veteran in the world of finance and accounting, who now brings these skills to support financial education for employees at all levels. It's such a treat to have him on the series today. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mike.
Hey, it's great to
Uh,
be here. Thank you.
Awesome. And I always like to say this, just a quick disclaimer, the information presented is for educational purposes only and is not intended to or meant to be understood as legal advice. This episode really is great for anyone in their current role, either just starting out in the wine industry, or maybe you're more of a seasoned employee who is interested in becoming better versed in the financial side of wine business. So, Mike, can we start with you telling me a bit more about your background and how you ended up in financial education?
Sure, happy to. Thank you. When I was in school, I thought about my interest in business and how I wanted to learn about every aspect of a business. And I thought to myself, how can I go about learning about all these different parts of how a company or winery works? And I thought the best way to do that would be through finance and accounting, because sooner or later, everything has to come through you, your department, your desk. So it's a great chance to see how everything, all the pieces work and how it all rolls up and comes together. And that really excited me. I was just naturally curious about different areas, and seeing those different parts of the business helped me understand how the business worked in totality. But the other thing that I was interested in school was psychology, because I thought, well, if I know all this accounting and finance information, I've got to communicate it with someone. But how does my brain work? How do I take in information? How do I process information? If I have to talk to someone, which I do every day, how does their brain work? What is important to them? How do they process information and translate all the things that they're experiencing into some thoughts and ideas in their head? So I decided to take a lot of psychology classes too, and minor in that, as a way to help communicate and help share information as well as receive information and make sure both people are on the same page. And from there, my career evolved, and I've had a chance to work for some very large, multinational, huge corporate wine businesses and alcohol businesses. And I've also had the chance to work for some very small, super premium wineries where everyone does everything. It's a small team and everyone wears many hats. So it's been fun to see.
I've been there.
Yeah, it's been fun to see all those different environments, and through those environments, I've learned a lot over the years. And now, what I'm doing, I'm a partner at the To Go Advisory Group. We're an advisory firm that works with companies across many different industries. I'm part of our ag division, and we work with different companies to help them solve problems, do assessments, and also provide temporary help if that's needed. And through that, I've gotten to see additional environments and learned a few things that I wanted to share today.
Awesome. I love hearing people's stories and kind of what sparks them to go down these career paths and all the different ways that, you really can go to end up here. Well, today's topic is actually on leveling up your career with financial literacy. So kind of marrying those two things together. Why is this topic so important to you, Mike?
Yeah, it's been interesting as I've worked in different environments or been a part of consulting with different teams. I've noticed a strong correlation between companies that are having success and are well run with a certain level of financial knowledge. Regardless of what your title is, regardless of what your day-to-day job is or what department you work in, having a certain level of financial education makes a difference. And just over time, I've seen this interesting correlation between those two things. When I was reading the InnoVint State of the Wine Industry report a few
Hmm.
months ago, there were a few things that
Hmm.
jumped out at me that got me curious. And one was, there was a question about asking folks, is your company healthy or not? And there was a range of answers, and people provided their answers. And it was really insightful to see what people thought. But it made me think about, how are they answering that question? What are they basing that information on? Does health mean that your sales increased by 10%, but maybe your profit dropped by 15%? Maybe you produced twice as much wine, and so that's a sign of health. The other thing that caught my attention in that report was, what are some of the big ticket items that people are concerned about in this upcoming year? And there were a lot of important responses, increased sales, staffing levels, world economics, consumer preferences, all those were on top of the chart. But one thing
Yeah.
that I thought should have been on there that wasn't was a topic related to financial literacy. Because if companies or if employees at the winery aren't sure how the finances work or what their role is in achieving the company goals, they could be at a disadvantage. And so I really wanted to bring this topic to life.
Yeah, I can very much relate to that as well. being young in my career, being in the production side, I felt like I never had a voice at the table because I didn't quite understand what the conversations were when it came to P&Ls and balance sheets and cash flow. And then I took it upon myself. I went back to school and I got a master's in business because I wanted to better understand the financial levers that were happening and why we made certain decisions in the vineyard and how that translated into the wine at the end of the year. And it wasn't until I went that route where I gained confidence to even have these conversations. So there's a lot of different stepping stones that you can take. And I know that you've prepared some extremely helpful steps today for folks watching. And together, we'll be breaking down the 5 key strategies for improving your financial literacy, right? So
Great.
without further ado, let's kick it off with strategy number 1. What do you have for us, Mike?
Well, a great place to start is really on making sure that you understand what the company financial goals are. Um, Most people are involved in the planning process throughout the year in some way, shape, or form. But does that information ever get reported back to you? Or do you ever have an opportunity to see and discuss what the plan is for the company in the next year or even multi-years down the road? And that's such a valuable conversation and an opportunity to have those discussions so that you can be part of where we're going.
Mhm.
I've seen environments where people don't have those conversations or that level of information isn't commonly understood. And so day after day, week after week, different managers or different departments are saying, do this activity or don't do this activity. And everyone's like, why? Is it just because my manager said that? Or is it because of this greater goal that we're trying to accomplish? They're kind of missing the connection point. And if you have a chance to be part of not only what we're doing, but why we're trying to achieve that, that I find creates higher engagement and people are then part of helping the company get there.
100%. That makes so much sense. You need to know where you're going before you can even take a step towards that direction. And getting the buy-in from everyone from the top down, bottom up, whichever way you're looking at it, you're going to reach your goals in a better way. So that's fantastic. What do you have for strategy number 2?
The second strategy is, believe it or not, the CFO or the finance leader of your winery really loves to talk to people. They don't like sitting at their desk all day, typing on their computer, cranking out reports. Yeah, they do that or they're part of that, but they also
Mhm.
really like working with the teams that are around them. And so if you think of it, invite them to a team meeting. Have them be part of your team's weekly, monthly, daily check-in so that they can see what you're talking about and start building that relationship with them. Bring them into the fold so that they can understand what you guys are working on, how you're spending your time, what are some of your challenges, what are some of the questions that you might have, and then they can add their perspective to that conversation. The closer that you establish a relationship with the finance or accounting leadership team at your winery, the more the communication is going to flow. And when communication's flowing, good ideas normally come from that.
Yeah, I love the practice of more transparency. You're never going to go wrong there. And just to be clear, this can be like any type of meeting, correct?
Yeah, make it a part of what you're doing currently so that it's
Yeah.
organic and it flows and it's not an incremental time suck to your already busy schedule. So just make it
Mhm.
organic. And when things are organic and convenient, they tend to happen. When they're hard or extra, they tend to be more difficult to do.
That is very, very true. Okay, what do you have for strategy number 3, Mike?
Well, to build on the team meeting topic, I've been in environments where, again, low to no cost um, ways to promote financial education. Invite your finance leader or CFO to a lunch and learn. Maybe everyone has to eat lunch. Everyone has to do that. So why not invite that person and he or she could talk about certain topics that are on their mind. Maybe there are topics that the group wants to discuss or learn more about, and you can have an informal discussion about it. Um, I've seen lunch and learns be very small groups, 3 to 5 people. And when you have that size group, no one's really, there's less concern about people bringing up ideas or concepts that they might be embarrassed or concerned to talk about. And you can have a trusting environment where you can learn a few things and have a good two-way conversation. Sometimes lunch and learns can be larger too, and 15 to 20 people. And that's a great thing too, because there might be some predetermined topics that you want to cover. Everyone might be hearing the same conversation or the same explanation, and that can be valuable too. So there's a lot of different ways to structure it, but make it informal, make it convenient. Everyone's got to eat lunch.
That is very true. And for these lunch and learns, I'm just wondering, would you suggest that they be put on by like internal team members, like maybe accountants and CFOs kind of like put this together if they have bandwidth? Or would you suggest bringing in external folks to lead these? Or what have you seen work in the past?
I think starting with the internal team is a good way to go. There should be already trust with, your own colleagues and knowing how everyone works and how everyone interacts. And the purpose is just to get the dialogue going, create momentum, create a point of progress to move the conversation forward as everyone wants to level up their financial literacy. So I would start with internal, and it doesn't cost anything, right?
Hmm. Hmm. That's true. All right, fantastic. Well, let's move on to strategy number 4. What do you have for us?
As you think about your objectives for the year, there might be a lot of functional objectives to accomplish this in your department or to hit these numbers. You might have a growth plan that's very unique or specific to your job and the future job that you want. But what I would encourage folks to also think about is how does finance and accounting education become part of that development plan? Um, I haven't met anyone in this wine industry who knows everything, myself included. I'm still learning every day. There are concepts that I might have exposure to that I've had a chance to learn more deeply over time. There are certain things that I haven't had as much exposure to yet just because of circumstances that are still on my list of things that I want to get closer to and understand better. So there's a constant learning mindset. But I would encourage everyone to think about their development plan for the year and make sure that there's at least one or two items on there that has to do with financial literacy and financial growth. Think about that mentality when you're designing your own personal growth plan for your role.
Yeah, that's very important. And I see this as one of those things that a lot of people want to do or say like in theory, oh, that's a great idea, but maybe they don't understand exactly how to do it or don't know like a game plan on how to like reach those goals. So, do you have any tips for like providing resources for employees or I know we'll get more into resources at the end, like specifically, but if you have any tips.
Yeah, talk to your manager, get their perspective. They might have thoughts and ideas around areas or topics that they would like to see your development occur in or the team's overall development to occur in. Talk to your CFO or finance or accounting leader at your winery. What are things that they're thinking about a lot? What are things that they wish more of the team at the winery thought about or had an
Mhm.
understanding of to help them? The thing about finance leaders is they can't be in every conversation that happens at the winery, nor is that possible. But the more they can spread their knowledge, the more that they can share their perspectives, and the better educated everyone is in these areas, the more productive the winery will be.
Yeah. That's a very true statement right there. We're already on the last strategy. I can't believe this. What do you have for us for strategy number 5?
Oh, um, how do you know if any of this is making a difference, right? Why is it worthwhile? Why does this matter? How do I know if we're moving the ball forward or if we're improving from where we are? And one of the things I've noticed in environments that take this seriously and put effort into this is the types of conversations that they're having. From at the beginning, they might be having certain conversations, and then down the road after a while, they're talking about completely different things. And so there's all these interesting cause and effects that can happen. And the more financially literate different team members are, the more lead time you can have on making these decisions and create better outcomes.
Hmm. Hmm. And just to summarize that, the the strategy here is to kind of take a high level view of the conversations and the actions that all the team members are taking towards positive financial change. Correct?
Yeah, you nailed it. Without understanding some of the concepts or how the finances work at the winery, you're not able to provide all the valuable input that you might have from
Hmm.
your perspective. And being able to make those connections and see the cause and effect can really make a world of difference, and you can get out ahead of things quicker.
Yeah, and that just also empowers your whole team to have that voice at the table and to, like you said, offer their perspective because everybody works in their own, silo, give or take, where they're managing their like small part of this bigger winery picture. So the more deeper understandings you can have within those roles, the better decisions can be made that will just trickle up to the bottom line.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll give you one more example that I've seen is on the production side. there was a person that was responsible for ordering glass for the winery, and they had the right intention. They wanted to get the best unit cost per bottle for the glass that they were ordering, and they were able to do that, but they had to order a larger quantity than what they had intended. But, hey, I'm getting a lower price per unit. That's a good thing. Let's do it. What they didn't think about is how long would that larger quantity last? And it turned out to be, many years that quantity was would have lasted that winery. They also didn't think about where is that glass going to be stored? We don't have a lot
Mhm.
of room at the winery. Where am I going to put all this glass? Well, let's pay an outside warehouse to store it. Okay, fine. But you're also now incurring monthly storage charges for glass that you're not going to use for many, many years. And so over time, that glass became very, very expensive
Yeah.
because of all those storage costs, and it really negated the unit cost savings that you realized when you were purchasing. Oh, by the way, the marketing team switched the glass for that bottle, and they
Yeah.
had ended up having to write off all the inventory that they had. So it was a disaster in many different ways, but it's a silly example of what can really happen if you're not looking at all these pieces together.
Yeah, and I'm sure many wineries and people watching this can relate to these stories or have a story that's similar where it's like, yeah, hindsight's 2020. Of course we wouldn't have made that decision or we didn't realize that we would have to pay interest or storage fees on XYZ. So another great example, Mike. Thanks for sharing that. What are some potential obstacles you see that wineries may face when they're trying to align on financial transparency?
Sure. From an individual perspective, it's really easy to um, find other priorities, right? Hey, I've got this topic related to my job. Hey, I have to do this. My team needs to accomplish this by such and such date. It's really hard to make space for things that you're not currently doing. And so
Yeah.
just making a decision to, I'm going to make time for this, or I'm going to find 15 minutes, a half an hour in my month to spend time on it to create momentum is really valuable. So just mentally deciding how you allocate your time and what you make space for. The second thing is I've seen different wineries have different philosophies around how they share financial information. And I've been in environments where there's a lot of transparency and there's a lot of sharing and two-way communication. And that's fantastic. That creates a lot of interesting discussions and a lot of engagements. And I've also seen environments where only a small number of people see certain numbers or certain pieces of information, and then they tell everyone what to do or not to do. And that creates a different type of outcome. So I think one of the obstacles can be what your winery's philosophy is on financial education. And I would encourage everyone to skew on the more transparent side because there's more benefits that come from it.
Yeah. And what are some things that you've seen work with really high productive teams?
Yeah, it's tricky when people from different areas come together and try to work together or learn together or progress together. You
Hmm.
have different mindsets, you have different experiences, you have different lenses that you look at the world through, you have different words that or things that you believe, and it's hard at first. And so what I found most impactful when I'm working with cross-functional teams or talking about doing something new, it's to acknowledge that it's hard to do something at first. I have a
Mm.
5-year-old, and every day she's learning something new, but oftentimes she'll get so frustrated when it's not perfect the first time. But we just talk about reminding each other that, hey, we haven't done this before. It's hard at first, and you'll get better at it. And I have to tell myself that for certain topics as well during the day. But just acknowledging things are hard at first, or they can be unsure, is important. Then you'll get to a place where it becomes comfortable and familiar, and you'll develop momentum. And then you'll get to a place where you'll make all these connections, or you'll ask all these questions, or you'll do different things that you weren't before, and you'll start to see the benefit of all that work that you put in. So just, give yourself some credit by starting the journey, and also acknowledge where you are in that journey so that you can feel good about where you started and how much progress that you're going to make.
Yeah, lovely. And I'm curious, what you think about upper management in wineries. Do you think that they see the value in supplemental education like this, or do you think that they maybe don't even know what resources are available for themselves and their teams?
I think it could vary. Oftentimes, if there's not a lot of financial transparency, it could be because that manager isn't well versed, and so they might be uncomfortable talking about things that they don't know a lot about. Also, sometimes I've seen managers not want to spend time on these topics because they think it will take away from the job that each of us
Mm.
have at the winery. And I don't agree with that approach, but that's what I've seen, happen. So I think it's important to talk about how spending time on this, the right amount of time, is additive to what you as an individual and what the team is going to do, and how that can translate to benefits for the winery.
Yeah, that's great. I hadn't really thought about it that way. Well, now I'm interested. So what should folks do now? Say I'm a winemaker and I've been in my role for 10 years and I know a little bit about finance, but I definitely have some ground to make up. How would I take action today?
Let's do something that's easy, convenient, and low cost. And that is maybe make a list of things that you think you want to spend time on to learn about. If you don't know what that list is, step two is talk to your finance leadership and ask them what are things that you think would round out your career or level up your financial knowledge, or what are things that are most important to the winery that I should be aware of and help bring to life in my respective area. Starting with your internal team is productive, easy to do, and doesn't cost anything. So that's where I would start. From there, you can do other things. There's a lot of great online resources. There's a lot of great books where you can read about different topics. Again, you can do it on your own time, at your own schedule, and you can choose the different topics that resonate the most with you. Outside of your own self-study, I found groups like Sonoma State, the Wise Academy, or trade groups like the Napa Valley Vintners are also good resources. The Vintners are often offering finance for non-finance people type courses, or cost accounting courses, or different financial courses just to spread and share financial information. And I would think that other trade groups outside the NVV would do something similar.
Fantastic ideas, Mike. So, if people want to learn more from you specifically, how can they reach out to you if they have any questions?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm happy to have conversations with everyone in terms of these topics or how to go about bringing these topics to life. My phone number is 203-856-2438, and my email address is mmatthews@cfostogo.com, and that information will be shared at the end of this as well. But happy to schedule a call, discuss what's possible, and help you on your journey.
Great. Well, thank you, Mike, for your time and your expertise on this episode of Expert Talks. I really appreciate you and the time that you shared with us. So until next time, this has been another great episode. And thanks, Mike. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Laura.